Pima County seeks a long-term solution for sheltering asylum seekers.
A good start at humanitarian aid is in, several $100,000.
The end of an agreement could mean rising prices,
Could be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months before you see the results.
plus a deeper understanding of the new deal that would replace NAFTA.
It's really crunch time to see whether this agreement moves through the U.S. Congress.
Hello and welcome to Arizona 360. I'm Lorraine Rivera. Thank you for joining us. The surge in families seeking asylum put Pima County and the city of Tucson to the test recently. Over the Easter weekend, shelters run by nonprofits ran out of space. With short notice, the city and county opened temporary shelters to house migrants just released from federal custody. In that time, the county alone helped more than 200 people get to their next destination. Now it's looking at ways to pay for ongoing efforts to provide aid. One option involves using funds from the federal grant program, Operation Stonegarden, which typically goes to state and local law enforcement agencies for work done in cooperation with Border Patrol. County supervisors voted to end the grant last fall. County Administrator Chuck Huckleberry supports bringing it back for this new purpose. At his office downtown, he explained why.
The sheriff has made a number of modifications with regard to how he operates under Stonegarden. I think a little bit of the concern was the police agency aspects of Stonegarden and what it was doing to the immigrant community. And I think he has made some significant concessions with regard to how he accepts it, how he operates under it, how he documents what occurs under it. And so there's a great deal more transparency by the sheriff and how that police agency uses Stonegarden money.
Among other reasons, Huckleberry says the county should accept Stonegarden funds. The county can now get reimbursed for so-called indirect costs that come with implementing the grant. Huckleberry says those indirect costs account for nearly a third of overall personnel expenses. And lastly, new guidance from FEMA gives southwest border states permission to use Homeland Security grants like Stonegarden for humanitarian aid.
And that humanitarian aid is what we use to provide medical assistance, food, shelter, water, and transportation for immigrants who are seeking asylum. And I think that's kind of come to the forefront just this last Easter weekend. We had to open our own, what we called a pop-up shelter at the Kino Event Center. And we had to basically house asylum seekers, provide them food, water, shelter, and ultimate transportation. And so now, based on this new guidance from the federal government, I think we can apply for what we call a reauthorization or a reprioritization of Stonegarden funds for humanitarian aid. And my guess is that the board, if they're inclined to accept the grant, will make that request also.
Has there been a dollar amount associated with what took place over the Easter weekend?
It probably less than $10,000. But I think if you were to extrapolate that throughout the year, it adds up to real money after, months of doing this. And so, I think a good start at humanitarian aid is in, several $100,000. And so that basically starts to get the faith-based nonprofits organized and structured so they can respond in a better way rather than this kind of, it's haphazard right now. They've done a great job, but they can't keep doing that forever without some reimbursements and some structure to this relief effort.
For the latest federal fiscal year, the Pima County Sheriff's Department was approved to receive $1.8 million in Stonegarden grants. Huckleberry says funding for humanitarian aid and reimbursement for indirect cost would come from the nearly $1.2 million currently designated to cover overtime pay.
Instead of having $1.2 million for overtime, the sheriff may end up with $800,000 for overtime if the federal agencies and the state agencies who administer the grant approve both the indirect cost reimbursement to the county as well as the humanitarian aid request.
Are you at all concerned about some of the optics when maybe the taxpayers of Pima County look at it and say, wait, we didn't want the funding, now we do, and now we're back and forth. So what's the public to make of that?
I think they should understand that this is kind of a balancing act and the act has been balanced. If you think about concerns by some citizens over the police agency actions, the response of the sheriff to be more transparent and open, and to utilize the funds for other purposes that offset expenses that are incurred by the taxpayers anyway.
What's your relationship like with the feds? I know you recently met and are looking to having better communication.
I think we met because I think the concern was the unpredictable nature of the releases and notice. A notice sometimes is give us 3 hours advance warning, as opposed to we're bringing him to you today and at this moment in time. It's clear that these agencies were communicating with police agencies, and that's fine, but unfortunately sometimes those communications don't filter down to the other components of local government that can provide emergency assistance, such as our public health agency and our emergency management agency.
Federal agencies tasked with releasing migrants first turned to the Benedictine Monastery, which has operated as a temporary shelter since January. That's likely to change this summer when the monastery's owner expects to move ahead with plans to develop the site. That presents a challenge for the city and county.
Obviously, we don't think there's going to be any end to migrants entering the country seeking asylum, so therefore there needs to be a longer-term solution. And that's really what the community needs to come together with, both the city and the county, as well as the nonprofit community, and find another location that could serve beyond August of this year, is when the monastery is scheduled to go into construction for other purposes. And so that's going to be our focal point probably for the next couple of months, to try and find that location, firm it up, get it ready, and have it available to take the place of the monastery.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
On May 7th, the Pima County Board of Supervisors will vote on whether or not to accept Stonegarden dollars. Sheriff Mark Napier was a vocal critic of the board's decision to reject the grant last year. He's also outspoken about border-related issues. Earlier this week, he described a crisis at the border before the House Subcommittee on Homeland Security. In our studios, we discussed his testimony and got his thoughts on the possible return of Operation Stonegarden funding.
Well, I think that the sheriffs have been back in Washington, D.C., and we've got a big voice back there. And one of the things that the sheriffs have said to our federal partners is, look, we need to look at Stonegarden in a broader context. We can't simply use it just for overtime and equipment. And I think they've heard us, so there is now a provision that allows for us to request reimbursement for humanitarian aid and also indirect cost, which I completely support because it's one of the things the sheriffs have been asking for.
You've not had Stonegarden funding for about 6 months now. How has that impacted your department?
Well, I have an affirmative responsibility to maintain public safety in our county. So what we've been doing is deploying resources very much like Stonegarden, but on an overtime basis. So it's being paid by the taxpayers of Pima County as opposed to federal dollars. Where it really hurts me is the equipment money, because I don't have a funding stream to buy the equipment that I otherwise would buy with federal funding. So that's troubling, because I'd most certainly would rather spend federal money, when they're essentially begging me to take it, to buy much needed public safety equipment than to pay with taxpayer dollars.
Has that at all hampered your relationship with federal law enforcement in this region?
No, we maintain a very good relationship with our federal partners, and that's not something for people to have trepidation about. We stay in our respective lanes. My lane is public safety in Pima County. The federal partner's lane is immigration enforcement. And sometimes those lanes come close together, but I don't adopt their responsibilities and I don't expect them to adopt mine. So we have a great relationship, but the part that's strained is I submit grant request, and there's a lot of work that goes into that, both with us submitting it and then the review process that goes all the way to Washington, D.C. and comes back down. So they're saying, well, Sheriff, we don't want to do this if it's just going to be not approved. Nobody has time to do this as kind of an academic exercise. And so that has strained our relationship a little bit.
You, this week in Washington, you mentioned that you have seen record seizures of meth and heroin, and I know that you have an interdiction unit that's dedicated to this. What is their intelligence telling them about why this area is such a hot spot right now?
Well, we're vulnerable, and this has always been a major corridor, whether it was marijuana 20 years ago, and now it's methamphetamine, fentanyl, heroin, and cocaine. So we've always been a major drug trafficking corridor here in Pima County because we're the largest border county. Our connection to I-19, I-10, and then up to I-8 through the Tono Autumn Reservation has always made us vulnerable to narcotics trafficking. So the fact that it exists is not new, but these are unprecedented amounts. Very alarming when you're talking about seizures of, 50 pounds of heroin and methamphetamine and 13,000 fentanyl pills. We know those are coming from across the border, and we also know they're not destined for consumption just in Pima County. This is a national problem. So what we don't interdict here goes to Ohio and causes overdoses and all kinds of collateral public safety damage throughout the nation.
We recently saw footage of armed men transporting a woman and child across the border here in this region. That's alarming to you?
What's alarming on many fronts, obviously the potential for violence, violent confrontation between law enforcement and these very heavily armed traffickers is a cause of concern. But what surprised me is that no one asked, I wonder what relationship that woman had to have 5 armed people escorting her and an 8-year-old child. What agreements did she make? What compromises did she make? How did that come about? I mean, we should all be going, there's something fundamentally wrong here. And when we speak about the narcotics crisis, one of the things I'm struck by is I've been in law enforcement since 1981. My deputies now carry medicine on their person, Narcan, in the hope of just saving some overdose lives. If that doesn't bespeak of a crisis, I don't know how to caption it better than that.
You're saying all these issues intertwine themselves.
Yeah, I wish there was a simple solution. Washington, D.C. and media have become sound bites. There isn't a soundbite solution to this. There's not a silver bullet that if we do this one thing, everything will be fixed. What we need is a bipartisan effort, and that almost seems like a cliche, but I believe in this country, and I think that we need to stop being partisan. This is not a partisan issue, and let's sit down and figure this out. As I said in D.C. on Tuesday, my fear is that 30 years from now, a sheriff will be sitting before Congress and saying, we should do something. Time to do something is now.
Okay, Sheriff Napier, thank you.
Thank you.
When it comes to U.S. and Mexico relations, Ricardo Pineda has his finger on the pulse. For the last 5 years, he served as head of the Mexican consulate in Tucson. It's given him some perspective on Arizona's role in the two countries' dealings, which we discussed in our studio last week. Given everything that's taking place in the national conversation, the president says that maybe he'll close the border. What do you watch out for when it comes to business dealings here in Arizona with respect to Mexico? Because if trade slows down at the border, that causes problems in the economic world, doesn't it?
We are fully convinced that the more open we are in terms of the trade we are having in between our countries, the better we are going to have any specific benefit. So closure of the border is not will not help anyone. So we are making every effort to maintain those specific border ports open. We have a great collaboration with the U.S. government in every field. We are doing everything that is in our part.
How much of a conversation is the Central American caravan when it comes to what's taking place at the border? I mean, you monitor it, I'm sure you have conversations.
Yeah, because we serve Pima and Pinal counties. And I refer in this way because we have 5 consulates in Arizona. But us serve just 2 counties out of 15. And this is very important because we also have a border, which is 160 miles from Pima, bordering the area with Mexico. So it's very important, this specific dialogue and continue collaborating. Of course, we monitor the border every day. And as I said before, we continue collaborating, exchanging good practices with other countries like Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras in order to put some order. We have our own policies. We fully respect the sovereign way for the U.S. to see this specific phenomenon. But in our case, as Mexico, we are doing our part according with our own laws and regulations.
I know you've been here, you said, for about 5 years in this region. Can
Yes.
you imagine what the mega region would look like between the two without something
No,
like
on the
that?
contrary, when I just came over here, I was told Arizona is a really big player in the relationship in between Mexico and the U.S. I didn't know the importance of this real relationship. Not that it was a full discovery, because we had the numbers, but the richness, not only in terms of economics, but also the social exchange, which is a very important part for our government. President López Obrador has underlined that we need to include the social sector. We need to develop our society, include labor in every specific field of economy in order to be able to benefit our communities, especially the most disadvantaged communities, and we are into that.
I know that in the past you've also talked about the importance of tourism, that it continues between the two.
Very important. And let me tell you, last year, 22 million Mexicans visit Arizona for different reasons, from leisure to shopping or visiting family. And no more than 900,000 Arizonans visit Mexico. So we think that we can do more, not only for the beauties and the advantages that Mexico offers to the visitors, but also for the good tourist relationship. And we are into that. We want to work more on that, make assurances that everything is going to be smooth. You're going to have a great leisure trip. You're going to be able to go not only to Sonora, but some other parts of the country that offers the same great tourism and great attention to visitors. So we have a very pending issue that we want to work for.
Okay, Consul, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tomatoes are front and center in international trade negotiations this week. The Tomato Suspension Agreement, a deal in place for more than 20 years, is expected to end this month. It's a small slice of the conversation taking place when it comes to trade between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Earlier this week, I learned more about how it could impact local produce distributors. I met with Jaime Chamberlain, a longtime distributor in Nogales, who also serves on the Arizona-Mexico Commission. His family has moved produce from Mexico to the U.S. for more than 40 years. In a year, the majority of tomatoes consumed in America come from all across Mexico. Chamberlain told us how the current cross-border trade system transports produce from farm to table in a matter of days.
I've got Roma tomatoes that are coming from La Paz, and they get loaded in La Paz on a boat, and they cross over to the Gulf into Atabampo. They get taken off there, and they get trucked up here. Yeah.
If the tomato suspension agreement ends as it's expected to, that means a new tax on tomatoes crossing the border.
As of right now, the Department of Commerce has allowed the Florida growers to withdraw from that agreement, and as of May 7th, any importation of Mexican tomatoes will be subject to duties. At the moment, it's 17.56% duties on the value of the product.
What does that mean for you, a distributor in Arizona who currently manages tomatoes coming through this facility?
That's a very difficult amount of duties to pay, and it is something that may change the landscape of the importation of fruits and vegetables in general through Nogales and through all ports of entry with product coming out of Mexico.
Does that somehow affect consumers like myself?
It may definitely affect the consumers. You may see an increase in pricing within the next couple of weeks. It could be a couple of weeks, it could be a couple of months before you see the results of what may be happening here. But as of May 7th, we start to pay duties.
This agreement is a small part of the conversation when it comes to trade between the United States, Mexico, and Canada. The bigger issue being debated, a new deal that would replace NAFTA. And for the first time, Mexico was recently named America's #1 trading partner, an accomplishment decades in the making, says Chamberlain.
We didn't get to be the world's largest economy and trading bloc overnight. The United States and Canada and Mexico together became the largest trading bloc in the world. And that is something that we need to respect and we need to build upon. So I would tell lawmakers to actually look at where we were in the global economy and look at where we can be. And together we can be so much more. The three countries doing business together in a much more equal way will be so much more.
Chamberlain also serves on the board of directors for the Fresh Produce Association of the Americas. He told me that activity in warehouses like this one depends heavily on movement at commercial ports of entry. There are challenges, though, when it comes to the political uncertainty. Does that affect you as a businessman?
Definitely. Uncertainty, like closing the border. That type of comment and those types of threats are something very difficult for us to swallow here on the Mexican border. In the United States, we are very much, at least our business, we're very much in tune with contracts. So we have deliveries to make to our customer base in the United States, whether it's a retailer or a food service company or a wholesaler across the United States. We depend on the continuity and the efficiency of our ports of entry.
Chamberlain also takes issue with a recent move by Customs and Border Protection to redirect some customs officers to help Border Patrol process asylum seekers.
For us, it's very, very disheartening because we believe that those customs officers have a very specific duty and a very specific mission when it comes to international trade, and they just can't be swapped out one for the other.
There are more than 1,000 trucks that cross through these ports of entry. 40 to 50 of them, and this is per day, will end up here at your warehouse. The uncertainty that you feel, is it felt on the south side as well?
Well, in the last couple of months, we've been averaging anywhere between 1,600 and 1,800 trucks a day here. And there's been some days where we've hit almost 2,000 trucks a day. And I think that there's certain reasons why that happens. Obviously, the season that we're in right now out of Sonora is increasing right now with specific products. But I think we're also seeing from other ports of entry that have other issues, worse issues than what we have here in Nogales. Those trucks and those commodities are now coming through our ports of entry. You know, what's going on in El Paso and in Ciudad Juarez and in Laredo, those are major issues that are costing the American economy millions and billions of dollars. That's something that shouldn't be happening. Those wait times that are at those ports of entry are just astronomical. And there's just products coming into the United States to be consumed by American and Canadian consumers.
Federal lawmakers have yet to sign and ratify the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. Despite the lack of action in Washington, Chamberlain says it's business as usual here along the border.
All the other stuff that's going on in the media, I tell you what, we really don't have time to listen to it because we have so much pressure to move the perishables that we have. Our trade agreements have made it so that there's a whole generation that doesn't know, hey, you can't have strawberries today because they're out of season. They won't know that. And that's great. That's great for consumers and it's great for food education in general. So I think that as our number 2 priority, other than the tomato agreement, the signing of the USMCA, I think is absolutely incredible by all 3 parties. And the realization that working together, we're much better off in a global economy.
Stakeholders on both sides of the border have voiced support for the new trade deal that would replace NAFTA. For a better understanding of what's in the U.S., Mexico, and Canada agreement and where negotiations stand, we turn to Eric Martin, who covers trade and the economy for Bloomberg News in Mexico City. This week, the tomato suspension agreement is dominating the headlines. Can you give us an understanding of why it's so timely right now?
Sure. This is an agreement that was reached in the late 1990s and has been renewed periodically since then, and it governs the price at which Mexican growers can export tomatoes to the U.S. And this is in place of tariffs being placed by the U.S., which is an outcome that Florida growers would like. They feel that Mexican tomatoes have been sold in the U.S. for below production cost and that Mexican producers have been getting subsidies from the government that they don't have in Florida. And so they've complained about unfair practices from Mexico and have wanted to put tariffs to protect their industry.
How does that agreement fit into the discussions over NAFTA versus the new United States-Mexico-Canada agreement?
Well, it certainly affects the context in which the USMCA, as the new agreement is called, in which that's being discussed. That's an agreement that was signed by President Trump, Prime Minister Trudeau, and then President Enrique Peña Nieto of Mexico at the end of November. And now that agreement is awaiting approval, a hearing and debate and approval in the legislative branch of the 3 countries, so U.S. Congress, Parliament in Canada, and the Senate in Mexico.
What would you say are some of the key differences between the 2 agreements?
Well, the focus of the new agreement is tightening the rules for production of cars. Cars account for the majority of the U.S. trade deficit with Mexico, so that was an issue that President Trump targeted in terms of negotiations. And what the new agreement does, in part, is raise the amount of content that needs to come from within the region. So that prevents content from Asia or from Europe from being used as easily in cars produced in Mexico and sold duty-free in the U.S.
There are also labor provisions that have seemed to garner approval from at least the bodies of government here in the United States. Is that also something that the Canada and Mexico governments are looking at favorably?
Well, it's something that Mexico just got finished in its Congress approving these labor changes, which had been sought particularly by Democrats in the U.S. Democrats in the U.S. made these changes a prerequisite for taking up debate of the USMCA in the House of Representatives. Speaker Pelosi had made this a priority to see Mexico not only passing these changes, but also enforcement and implementation. And so Mexico has just passed these changes, which allow for things like secret ballots in electing the leadership of unions, really strengthen the rights of workers to have a voice in their unions. In Mexico, there were previously contracts that were created before a company would arrive that would govern the relationship between the company and its workers.
The USMCA appears to be in a holding pattern. Is that the perception or reality of things at the moment?
The reality at the moment, if you consider that the deal could have been put on the floor by Speaker Pelosi, really at any time since a study came out middle of last month about the benefits for the U.S. from this agreement. And that study by the International Trade Commission found that there would be some benefits for the U.S. economy from this agreement. And so that's something that was a prerequisite for putting the agreement on the floor. But it's something that analysts are looking to see whether that will happen before the House and before Congress take their recess in August. And so there's speculation that if this doesn't happen by the August recess, it could be put on the back burner until after 2020, potentially until a second Trump administration or until there's a new president. So it's really crunch time to see whether this agreement moves through the U.S. Congress or not.
Okay, Eric Martin joining us from Mexico City. Thank you for your insight.
Thank you for having me on.
That's all for now. Thanks so much for joining us. Visit us on social media and let us know what you think. We'll see you next week.